Prepare the contract and ready to close. Now, this reminded me, listening to Steve, one of the things that David was talking about earlier. I got this out of Stephen Covey's CDs. Common sense is not always common practice. You use that one, because you know what? You would think, and I put that in there for a reason, you would think that y'all would just do good agreement and give it to them and they could sign a return check or a wire transfer or do whatever, case closed. I'm like ready to beat my designers, because I had this one deal just closed the other day. Well, they're going to be signing it, but it was the Jewish holidays. They interviewed on Sunday. It was a small deal. I could have written the contract in about 2 minutes. And I'm not joking. I would have had it done in 3 minutes. It would have been that fast. The designer didn't do it Monday, didn't do it Tuesday. They're in New York. It's the Jewish holidays. I'm like, you're not even Jewish. You know, your boyfriend is Jewish. Give me the contract. Wednesday goes by. Thursday goes by. I'm just like, you know, ready to jump through the phone to extract this and get it. The contract finally comes in. Well, let me tell you something. I just went through this with another negotiation with a doctor in New York a month ago with another designer I was ready to kill. I mean, I'm not really violent, but you know, when you work so hard to bring a deal to the table, the idea that I could lose it over someone's stupidity is just it's unexcusable. And weeks to 10 days went by. We were trying to get this contract back and forth, and then she was out in her beach house, and she couldn't open up the Adobe PDF document. Her assistant wasn't in, and I was just like, and I was I was ready to retype the damn thing just to make it happen. And another week went by, and then the doctor disappeared. Well, guess what happens in this period? Their friends are saying, well, why don't you use this designer? Why don't you go do this? And then you know what he kept doing? Every iteration of the agreement that went back, what do you think he did? One guess. Right. He was renegotiating it. He found a new point he didn't like. He found a new point he didn't like. Well, with me, that doesn't. Finally, what I had to do was, because of stupidity, and I really mean it, because it could have been done, it would have been closed, is I said, I'm stepping in, I'm going to talk to him directly. And then actually, it was very funny, he sent her one email, he goes, and I challenged him on something, he goes, just let me deal with Gail directly on this, you're not helping the situation. I'm like, right, exactly, because I'm not saying yes to you, that's why I'm not helping the situation. So I called Gail, I said, don't you even talk to him. Pulled him right back into me, got him on the phone, closed it. That's what happens when you do not give somebody exactly what you need to give them when you need to give it to them in the right way, where they can sign here, here, and here, make them both sign the agreement, husband and wife, general partner, whatever it is on the thing, get the money, and you got a deal. The longer you linger, you have a chance of losing something, it only gets worse. And then guess what? Everyone's talking to them and putting things in there, and they're putting all kinds of craziness in their heads. Okay? You are the right choice, but they don't know it until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. And I don't know what's up with this. Some of my designers keep asking for ridiculous little amounts of money to start a project. I don't get that. Why would you if you're working on a potentially larger deal, $50,000 or $100,000, I mean, listen, and I know that everybody has a different threshold in this room. Somebody maybe wants to only do $1 million projects. Maybe somebody's content taking $10,000. There's no shame. I don't care. Point being is when you're dealing with a larger transaction, start somebody out for $1,500 or something. When you've asked for a $10,000 design fee, doesn't make sense. Ask for $5,000 or get the $10,000 up front. They're going to have to pay it. It's non-refundable, because my opinion is that the minute you start talking to them, you can convey an entire design scheme. That is the essence of what you're doing. Do not be afraid to ask for a lot of money up front. And if you're ever curious, just call me and say, listen, these are the numbers. What do you consider a lot? Or what do you think is the right amount? I can tell you in a second. But it is inevitably more than what I see people asking for. And when I ask for it, I get it. By the way, we do get it. And that goes back to one of my favorite points, which I put in bold. Let's go down here. What's the one single word in capital letters?
Negotiate.
I know. Painful, isn't it? Yes. You've got to be. You have to be willing and able to negotiate every project, every client, and that means you got to push until they say no. Then you've maximized your dollars. If they come back and sign your agreement right away, or you didn't ask for enough money, probably. Okay, that may be an oversimplification, and as we're learning today, simple is not easy. It can be easy. I think being forthright, just putting it out on the line. I like to deal with people on the phone or in person, and I said, get as much information as you can in person, and ask them what if they've worked with people before. How did your last designer charge you? Oh, they were cost plus and da-da-da-da. Well, great. Did that work for you? Oh, well, mostly. Okay, well, what part didn't work for you? You know, ask these probing questions. Your job as part of the selling process, by the way, compliments of, John Lawhon. If someone comes in, if I go to Starbucks and, or let me think about it. If I just walk into Starbucks and pick something out of the shelf and pay for it, is that person who's, taking my money a salesperson? No, what are they?
Cashier.
Exactly. Barista. No. They're an order taker. They're an order taker, essentially. They're just taking an order. Okay, fine, you want that? Fine, done. There's no selling involved in that. When I go in and say, listen, I want a coffee, and I need something that's a little, I don't like your roast, which I actually don't like any of their coffee, for the most part. I do like their espresso, though. They do espresso, which is perfect, which is the way I like. But occasionally I'll go in and go, well, what if I want something milder? Would you recommend this? Can you recommend that? And they start explaining things and the flavors and the processes, which I inevitably don't like anyway. But that at least is the selling process. I'm engaging them, they're engaging me, they're answering my questions, and they're giving me enough information to make a decision, which is to go back and order my doppio espresso macchiato, or whatever I would decide to come up with for that particular moment. But they're giving me information. That is a salesperson. You're giving people enough information in order to make a decision on what they're going to go ahead and purchase. And one of my favorite things that I've ever read was, if someone says no to you, I wasn't planning on writing anything. If someone says no, which is 2 letters I really hate, what it really means is they don't know enough. You haven't given them enough information in which to make their decision. You haven't probed deep enough into the pains of what they're looking for. You haven't asked them who they worked with, how they worked with them before, why they're not going back to their original interior designer. They died? Fair. They moved? Not necessarily. That may not be enough, because we work with projects all over the place, right? What are the real reasons? Why aren't you re-engaging them? What are your preconceived ideas? You never worked with a designer? Oh, great. What do you think that we're going to do for you? Put it out like that. What is it that you want me to do for you? Make them tell you what services you want. Because if they want then give them 1, 2, 3. I just want you to go shopping with me. Oh, okay. Great. Well, I can work 2 ways with you. We can do an hourly with a 2-hour minimum or a 4-hour minimum. Or I do shopping. I accompany you on shopping for half-day rates. For 4 hours or 8 hours, you pay me in advance. I'll take you there. If you want me to order something from a trade resource for you, it's a 35%, 42%, whatever you pick a number, not less than 25, I hope. On top of it, we'll then place the order. If credit cards, if they take your credit card, we'll be happy to let you use it. If not, we'll go through my firm either way. If you want to go retail shopping, we can do it any way you want. If there's a discount, I'll pass it on. Figure it out, be clear about it, give them what they want. Probe, ask, do not, and this is really important, because people, and like my southern clients are very, I remember, or even my New York client, she goes, well, I was raised as a lady. It's actually in my book. It's probably the worst deal I ever had. That was the negotiation I lost, and we both got fired. But it does happen. At any rate, she was raised as a lady, and therefore did not want to discuss or question about the money. Well, then get your husband to do it, or get your attorney to do it, or me to do it, or your boyfriend, or something like that. You need to ask why. If you don't understand the details of why they're thinking like that, if you don't know the details of why they're thinking the way they're thinking, you're not getting to know them any better. And you know what? You're not creating a rapport with them. Because by the way, the reason why people return to you year after year, or I should say project after project, is because they've spent all this time letting you get to know them. They don't want to train anyone else new. That's your value. It's not just because you're a good designer. There's plenty of good designers out there. I guarantee any of you, I could undersell you in a second with your exact design. I can find someone to do it cheaper. So that, by the way, I'm not going to. That's not my objective. It's just to illustrate a point. There's plenty of talent out there. Why are we working with you? Because I like you. Because you're pretty. Because you smile. Because you've got great design. Because you know my pain and my intimacy, and you know which side of the bed I want to sleep on, which side of my husband's on, and where the mistress gets in and out of the house. All this. There's a lot of that going on. Realizing all these additional condominiums that are being purchased in various cities around the country. We're laughing, but guess what? That's not such a bad market. I'm not advocating infidelity. Tim, take that off. reality is it happens. And the point being is that there is a marketplace for things, and guess what? That client, that international client, that person who's buying a little extra few condominiums in Miami or has a little pied-à-terre in New York, they want discretion. Who wants discretion? These are the buzzwords you're using. Family offices that manage the wealth of wealthy people. They want concierges that work with wealthy people. They want discretion. You're not going to say no to the money. I mean, you might, I suppose, but call me, please, so I can sell it to somebody else who will say yes. And I'll send you a commission. That actually goes right back down to my last thing on the outline. Don't leave money on the table.